We feel very strongly that the SME voice needs to be heard within Manchester, and to actually get the engagement of the people that are going to make Devolution happen, to get them all in a room and for us to actually be able to engage with them. And I think we succeeded in that today, which was fantastic.
Well, as a patient, I'm hoping that it will improve the NHS in the local area. As a clinician, I want to see it make clinicians' lives easier. As a taxpayer, I'd like to see it make better value for money for the country as a whole, really. As a health IT person with that hat on, I'd like to see the opportunities for health IT improve, but to make sure that health IT doesn't become the end in itself. I mean, there's certainly a lot of talk in Devolution about technology being part of the solution, and I think it is part of the solution, but the important part of that sentence is the word part, because although health IT is very sexy, very exciting at the moment, it isn't everything that causes problems in Manchester, Greater Manchester area, and there's a huge backlog really of sort of social debt to pay really in terms of improving housing, opportunities, education, and those kind of things, which may take many decades really to see through to fruition. So I think there's a huge amount of opportunity for Devolution to make a massive difference to mine and everybody's lives in Greater Manchester, but I think there does need to be an appreciation that if the results take 5 or 10 years to be seen rather than 1 or 2 years to be seen, that isn't a failure, that's actually a success, because it means that we're getting down to the real causes of the problems.
What I learned today is that there is a chance for new companies to actually work with NHS and the healthcare sector. So it's really a nice thing to hear, and I hope that they actually mean they are willing to work with the smaller guys.
Well, certainly for me, the opportunities I'm hoping is that the industry I work in is very underrepresented in Greater Manchester, and with the health innovation, the connections with the NHS, with industry, that there's going to be more opportunities for young people to leave school and work in the area of medical device technology. And also we can gain more investment from other parts of the world, which currently are going to Switzerland and Germany and Ireland. It would be fantastic if it was coming to the UK and specifically to this region.
So we are an existing provider for a number of the acute trusts providing healthcare IT solutions for some of the acute trusts. So it's very important in terms of existing business and very exciting in terms of supporting that transformation. I think the only slight concern is the delays as the budget is finalised and the structures are put in place, the change management is done before actually things get done. So there's a lot of enthusiasm. You don't want to have too much time putting in place the governance structures, budgets, and people lose enthusiasm and transformation.
Any concerns I may have is that maybe we've not got opportunities to engage and really ensure that things are implemented effectively in the most cost-effective way.
Not really. I think it's a positive move. We take in control over how taxpayers' money is spent locally. I think we know what's required. So I think it's a great positive move.
My concerns is that they're trying to achieve a lot. It's radically different. It is going to be an upward struggle. But I think if everybody can understand the concept, if everybody can rationalise and understand that the NHS is a large dinosaur and it needs to change, it needs to have a different way of funding, that it will be very successful.
Got a couple of concerns really. I think I'm very positive about Devolution, but I'm concerned that if it doesn't do as well as it's hoped it will do, then that might be used by Whitehall to pull power back to the centre. So we do have a responsibility to do as well as we can with it. I'm concerned that if it does well, that although lots of work will have been put in improving Manchester's devolution and creating a health and social care devolution that works for Manchester, that those lessons learned and perhaps the solutions developed and the IT that's worked on, the code really, might not be shared with other areas of the country. So for example, if in 10 years' time we're looking at a Midlands devolution or a South West devolution, will they be able to take the things that we've paid for? So really my challenge there is, can we create this, can this be an open source devolution?
A revitalised economy. I grew up in Oldham, and I remember the days when Ferrantes was big, the British Aerospace, and there was just a big infrastructure here, and it would be really fantastic to see similar technology-based businesses coming back to the region.
I think it's hopefully a better care for patients, but also in that process getting local businesses involved. So it's not just win for one party, but it's win for everybody.
That vital services that the NHS is stretched to provide will actually be covered by certain SMEs outside the normal procurement available at the moment.
So the most positive effect of the devolution, I suppose it's got to be seen in terms of the raw outcomes. What we want is a really, really good health economy for Manchester, which has been a little bit behind, and we certainly have some evidence of poor outcomes in cancer and things like that. So it's got to be, what does it do? If it does a good thing, if it makes the NHS work better, and if it saves money, then that's a positive outcome.
I think bridging the gaps between the various care settings is key, between social care, primary care, acute care, which we know is an artificial barrier within the NHS that impacts patient care.
I wouldn't say it answered the questions, but certainly it gave an opportunity for people to put questions out there and hopefully inform people who are in the detailed discussions at this moment in time that there is a broader base maybe to be considering rather to those which have been informed so far.
Of course there's a lot more questions, and of course there's a lot more that needs to be done, but this is a good start and a very innovative way of starting a new project.
I think clearly this event, it did answer some of my questions. It was primarily aimed, I guess, at SMEs and for introducing the idea of Devolution to that area of the city. So it answered those questions. There are a whole load of questions in my mind that it didn't answer, but I guess this is an event aimed at SMEs, so perhaps other events need to happen to try and bring in to try and answer the other questions that I have.
I think it answered a number of them. I think it demonstrated there's a lot of enthusiasm from within the constituents within Manchester. I think that it demonstrated that there's still a lot of open questions as well.
I found it interesting that the views of SMEs about the NHS. I guess I have that view as well, but one always wonders whether it's personal prejudice. I just think that it's going to be hard to integrate with the NHS. And I'm not an SME, I'm, I guess, sort of half and half, but it was apparent that SMEs do have frustration dealing with the NHS, and we are really hamstrung inside the NHS in terms of procuring sensibly. We always end up, as was mentioned, procuring from the big usual suspects of public IT procurement, and we have to see if we can make that not happen.
The most interesting aspect of the event today was the acceptance of a huge change. I found it fascinating that certain Manchester people are actually trying to do something completely different, and it is very life-changing for a lot of people, and I think the outcomes will be very successful if they manage to achieve what they want to achieve.
I think it's interesting to hear the different opinions, especially from SMEs as well as the larger players. There were GE and others in the audience. So bringing a mixture of different type of individuals is really good for this.
I think the questions from the GP IT lead, Marcus, I think there were some challenging questions, but also some quite pertinent questions. So it was quite. I found those very interesting.
I think it will be food for thought. I think we started a journey to make a cliche, and I think there will be more that will come from this. I think there was a lot taken away in terms of learning for people, and I think from further engagement moving forward, I think we'll find that there's a lot more to answer.